Welcome to episode 12 of the Young Adults Guide to Planet Earth, the podcast where we try to figure out life through good conversations. I'm your host, Clayton Hamrick, and joining me as always, we have Sid Warren. What's up, man? Sid?
Nothing much. It looks like you're the awkward one today.
No, man. That's always you. And
that was not awkward. I did good today. I'm just putting that out there.
We have Hunter Baumgartner.
What's up, guys? And girls. Whoops.
Cool.
Yeah.
We're inclusive here.
Yeah. So today we're going to be talking about our favorite TV shows, or in some cases, the most influential TV shows in our lives. But first, as always, we have the quote of the week. And Hunter is not prepared.
I am definitely prepared. The quote of the week is by Jordan Peterson. Compare yourself to who you were yesterday, not to who someone else is today. Because a lot of people, that was the quote, because a lot of people like to compare themselves to other people every day, and it's just not healthy.
It's not at all.
So
I know firsthand.
Here's a counterpoint. Don't compare yourself to who you were yesterday. Compare yourself to who you want to be in the future.
But you don't know who you were in the future, so it's not really.
But in
in
order to become who you want to be, you have to think about that. So if all you're doing is looking behind you and comparing yourself to what you were yesterday, you're ever going to progress forward?
It's a positive speech thing.
Okay, I don't know who Jordan Peterson is. Can you tell me?
He's a famous psychologist, and he wrote a book that I'm currently reading called The 12 Rules to Life. And
There's only 12? Dude, this is easy. I thought there were more than 12.
And basically, he helps people by talking out how life is, and basically made these 12 rules to help people deal with things they struggle with in life. Rule number 1 is hold your shoulders up, when because a lot of people nowadays are really passive aggressive, and a lot of people they take a lot of crap from other people, and they don't really stand up for themselves.
Yeah.
And I see a lot of people shy away from conflict. And the first rule is just explains how in nature other animals do stuff to show their dominance, and humans are of Earth as well, and so we do have aggression in us, but it's not good to be too aggressive, but it's also it's good to stand up for yourself at times. That's basically what the first rule is, to stand up for yourself, and also by holding your shoulders up, you'll look more confident. And so you tend to pick away at people that don't look confident, and pick on people that aren't really confident. And so if you start looking like you're confident, and then you feel like you're confident, and then you kind of don't have to deal with that anymore. So that's just a little thing from his book. So
that's good advice. That makes sense.
Well, I just want to, just real quick before we move on, just ask one more question about his quote. How are we supposed to achieve greatness without comparing ourselves to greatness? How do we know what greatness is unless we have somebody to compare ourselves to?
Because greatness is within us.
Yeah.
And we just.
But I think ultimately, so based on the reason I'm bringing this up, based on my religion, I'm supposed to compare myself to Jesus and try to be like him, right? So
yeah.
I believe that to be true, not with just my religion, but in culture. So I want to be like Bill Gates, you know. I think it's okay to compare ourselves to those people, not get yourself down about it, but you gotta achieve, you gotta strive for greatness.
Yeah, there's definitely a negative way to do that though, because everybody probably has done when they're in middle school, they compare themselves to this other guy, and little do they know that other guy compares themselves to him, and it just breeds insecurity. Where
I guess it's all about comparing yourselves to the right people.
Yeah,
and
for the right reasons too.
Yeah, so not random comparing yourself to somebody good and seeing what you can do to become that and to achieve more, I think is a healthy thing to do.
Yeah, I agree. And I like that too, comparing yourself to who you were, because that can give you confidence too if every day you're making progress and you see where you've come from. And also, like you said, comparing yourself to who you want to be in the future. I think this is just all introspection though, and just
I think that's what it comes down to, is the important thing here is to reflect on yourself and reflect on how you how you live up to expectations, your own and societal expectations.
Yeah, but don't reflect if you're being negative, because that's just being insecure.
Yeah,
And
that's mostly what he was talking about.
Yeah.
It's just because that's also another rule in his book, and to like, because a lot of people these days they do tend to pick the wrong person to motivate them. Like,
Yeah.
So one thing I want to do on this podcast in the future is us all three read the same book, and I mean tell our audience as well, like 3 months in advance, say, and then they can read along with us, and then we can discuss the book. So one of these days, here shortly, we'll figure that out.
Cool.
But for today, let's get into our main topic, which is our favorite or most influential TV shows. And each of us have kind of 5. Some of us have some honorable mentions here and there, but
I have 10. 7 important ones. And out of those 7 important ones, I've picked 5.
So let's save our honorable mentions till the end. We can kind of just speed through those at the end. But let's jump right into our top 5s, and let's start with Sid and go around the circle.
Okay, this is in no order, so it's not like least to greatest or anyway. But the first one I'm gonna say is SpongeBob.
Okay, that's also on my list.
I mean,
knew it.
SpongeBob has been as much a part of my life as some subject of education have been. Like, probably he's been in my life more than science, because I only did science in like more like middle and high school. Not really much in college. Maybe like biology, but
yeah.
I'm getting off track. But like SpongeBob has been in my life a lot. I've watched probably every episode of SpongeBob ever, multiple times each.
Yeah.
Because you watch reruns on like cable and whatnot. And I don't know, it's just like watching that so much and just loving that character. I feel like I know who he is.
He's so relatable because, like,
yeah,
he's derpy, but he's like, he loves his job and he tries so hard to be a good friend, and
yeah,
he's a good guy. And even though he's not as smart and as strong as you know what we perceive as the most successful great people in life, like, he's still your friend. And like, I don't know, the design of his character is really cool.
I think I got a little bit of my personality from him too, because I'm kind of like a puppy sometimes when like I get excited or I'm like happy about something. Like, I just get like really giddy and like excited, and then if I'm upset about something, even if it's a little thing, I can be super dramatic sometimes and just like get pissy and like and just like flop in my bed, like, and that's just who I am. But SpongeBob's just like that too.
Well, I think he teaches positivity too, because like he doesn't really ever get mad, like he doesn't.
But he gets sad, and like his whole face, like if SpongeBob is sad, everybody within a mile radius knows about it, because he's just like.
But I think the fact that he doesn't get mad is really cool, because like there are certain things, and like he's just such an optimist about those things.
Yeah.
So SpongeBob came out in 1999, which at that point I was 4 years old, and what was I for? May 1st, 1999. I guess so, yes. I legitimately remember watching the first episode of SpongeBob with my grandmother.
Wow.
Like, because I guess I was at her house that day, and I watched Nickelodeon anyways, so that was just coming on. And, like, I'm not saying I remember it specifically, but, like, I know I watched the first episode on the premiere day.
That's cool.
And, I mean, it was a huge part of my childhood ever since from the time I was 4. I mean, I remember we'd sit around the lunch table at high school and discuss SpongeBob because everybody just loved SpongeBob.
Yeah. It was common ground with, like, anybody. Like, you could always talk SpongeBob.
Yeah. So...
I never watched SpongeBob.
Really?
I mean, I know I've watched a few episodes, but I was never really into SpongeBob. I was more into dark stuff growing up.
I think some of that has to do with the fact my parents wouldn't let me watch certain things.
Yeah.
And
I wasn't allowed to watch Yu-Gi-Oh!
I wasn't allowed to watch Cartoon Network.
Oh, really?
See, that's the thing. Like, I watched Cartoon Network, and then when I watched that, I didn't want to watch Nickelodeon or Disney Channel because it was way more.
Yeah, Nickelodeon and Disney is more wholesome. Cartoon Network's more like what you want to watch, because it's like it feels rebellious and
yeah.
Because I never was allowed to watch Cartoon Network. I remember watching like Boomerang, which was old school like cartoons. And then
that was right next to Cartoon Network, wasn't it?
Yeah.
See, I gravitated towards Boomerang more than I did Cartoon Network. But when it went off the air, I was hopeless. I was like, there went the Jetsons. There went the Yogi Bear.
Yeah.
Who else was Scooby-Doo? Oh,
Scooby-Doo. How did I forget that one? That's
oh
on
my
5.
God! I didn't even remember that.
That's on my 5. One of them's getting kicked off.
Oh man.
What's his name? Johnny Bravo.
Yeah, Johnny Bravo as well. Yeah.
So, real quick before we move on, and before we go to Hunter's list, what about this whole SpongeBob controversy at the Super Bowl?
What was that?
I watched it. I don't even know what happened. Like, I remember there was this thing on the internet where people wanted the SpongeBob Bowl to be part of the Super Bowl.
Yeah.
And I think it was just like a rapper's way to like integrate it, but he didn't do a good job.
Well, it didn't originate with the rapper. It originated with when Steven Hillenburg, the creator of SpongeBob, passed away this past year. Some random dude started a petition on change.org.
You told me about that.
Yeah,
That's where
so they started a petition, and like I signed it day one. I was like, we got to make this happen. And by the time yesterday came around, which was yesterday was the Super Bowl, there were like 1.2 million signatures on the petition, and CBS had kind of teased at like, oh, get ready, like there's gonna be some SpongeBob reference, and so everybody was getting pumped up that they were actually gonna sing Sweet Victory or do something more than they did, and then all they ended up doing was showing a little teeny clip that just transitioned into whatever that song was that
it wasn't even relevant. It didn't make sense.
So like for seeing some people, like it felt like a glitch on the TV because it was because people didn't know what was going on. It was really weird and misplaced. And so what they've actually done is caused way more of a controversy now because people are posting memes and all over the internet today about like how much they hate the halftime show, and like the halftime show was uploaded to YouTube and has like 400,000 dislikes already.
Wow.
Dang.
And it's turned into this big controversy. But I think that's cool, man. Like everybody from our generation, all of the millennials are just in an uproar.
You can't piss off fans. Like you see what happened to Star Wars. And now you've seen it with SpongeBob. I mean, you just can't piss off the fans. That's rule number one with marketing and keeping your brand big.
Yeah. So, anyways, I thought that was interesting and relevant to what's been happening.
Yeah.
I didn't know it was such a big thing. I signed the petition and knew that the petition was big, but I didn't know it was going to be so big. Because I was actually pumped that they did what they did. Because, I mean, we got a little bit of a reference, but there should have been more.
It would have been easy for Adam Levine to sing Sweet Victory.
It would also have been easy to cut whoever those. I don't even know the rappers' names because I don't listen to rap.
Either.
But like
that was some old songs too.
Well, that was like in one of the songs, at least like 20 seconds that they had to bleep out completely.
Yeah, I thought I lost the sound on the TV
because he wasn't supposed to be cussing, but he just did. He anyway. Was. So I was like, wow, why didn't they cut that out and sing Sweet Victory, man?
Yeah, for real.
They could have made so much more money.
And I heard another rumor about like the voice of SpongeBob, or the voice of Squidward, which I guess technically he was in it because he talked, but something more about it. I don't know. I thought there was going to be more than it was. All right, let's move on. We might.
Wait, are we going to go over all SpongeBob? Of
No, we're going to go to yours. One of yours on your list.
Okay. Okay. Well, if we're talking about cartoons, I'm gonna go straight into the Batman, the animated series.
Yeah.
Probably the gold standard for any Batman fan is the Batman the animated series.
Yep.
It created Harley Quinn, and it has the best Joker ever for the Batman anything. Like, and the noir style of the cartoon, it's so beautiful, and I just like I'm so in awe every time I watch it, and like it brings back childhood memories of me sitting at home on Saturday mornings eating my Reese cups and my bowl of cereal. Like it's just
Reese cups.
Yeah, or Reese Puffs. Puffs. My
I thought
bad.
you were just eating like actual Reese Puffs.
Oh yeah, that would be nasty. But like I grew up on that show, and it made me want to be like, it made me look up, like. It made me like feel like, okay, this is what I want to do. I want to be a superhero or something. Like when you're a kid, you don't know, but like it taught me values of like and morals. Like it was a dark TV show, but it was so much more like more like the morals were so much more detailed, and like I don't know, it's just hard to explain because I'm so excited about it. But it's like y'all watched it too, right?
I didn't watch it when I was little. I don't know why. I think I saw it a few times, but it didn't come on regularly on the channels I watched. But I agree. Like, I think I'm a huge fan, obviously.
What channel did it come on?
See, I don't even know because I didn't watch it on.
It was Cartoon Network.
Yeah,
but it came on like at 11 o'clock.
I've never seen a full episode of Batman the Animated Series. I've seen clips of it, and
it's everything you want from Batman.
I understand how great it is because I understand that Mark Hamill did an incredible job with the Joker, and that Harley Quinn was incredible, and I understand why it was good, but I guess it's because I wasn't allowed to watch Cartoon Network. I never really watched any of that, so I don't know. Like, I've watched clips and things from that era, but
it's just one of those shows you just can't like. Sometimes I'll watch it like early in the morning, like when I'm getting up, just to. It's like a 20-minute episode, and it just has like, they're so beautifully written too. Like, it's just, and every episode is different.
Yeah.
And it's just like every episode has a different villain, and it's, I don't know. I
think that's something great about. I mean, cartoons still do it now, but I just remember the cartoons are designed for kids with low attention spans, and like 20-minute episodes, and then SpongeBob in a 30-minute time period, you had 2 episodes. Each episode was like 12 minutes long, and like, but that stands up to, and even now today when I'm an adult, where if I just want to get some quick entertainment, I love those short little cartoons that you can get a whole story arc within 20 minutes.
Yeah.
Also, like, that brings me back to the thought of like, when I was a kid and I watched it, I didn't get what it was telling me, and then I went back and watched it as an adult, and it just like blew my mind, because I remember the scenes and I remember what happened, but I didn't understand it, and now that I understand it, it's like, wow, they made this show for the kid and the adult that's watching it with them.
That's the funnest thing about watching cartoons as an adult, is you notice, because that's how they have to write cartoons like that, because they don't want parents to be bored out of their minds watching cartoons with their kids. So you can really notice a lot of references and innuendos and things like that when you watch it as an adult.
And I always loved action, so that's probably why I didn't really like SpongeBob a lot.
Yeah,
that was more comedic.
What are you talking about, man? There's karate. And
I know.
There was one episode where he went through like 10 different, like, it was
my favorite is probably
Bruce
when he
Lee
gets his
movie,
license,
and he like goes through this tower of like different warriors and defeats them.
Dude, no way, really?
That was a good one.
Okay, maybe I need to start watching it. But like, I don't know, I just couldn't get into it when I was a kid. Like I said, I was
the subtle
fighting.
Small jokes in SpongeBob were what made it.
Oh yeah,
because you think about Ben and Geeks is like everybody's favorite episode of all time. Like the whole thing where Patrick raises his hand, he's like, is mayonnaise an instrument? And then he raises his hand again, and Squidward's like, no, Patrick, horticulture is not an instrument either, or whatever.
Yeah.
It's just so stupid.
I still enjoy watching it. Like, if it comes on, I'm happy to watch it.
But that's the example, too, of, like, that was both funny to adults and kids.
Yeah.
Because it's just so stupid.
Yeah. Another thing about, like, similar to that, this is one of my honorable mentions, but it fits in, is, like, the Teen Titans animated series.
Oh, yeah.
And Young Justice. You got to say Young Justice.
Young Justice is amazing, too. But, like, specifically Teen Titans, I watched all of Young Justice, by the way. I love it. But Teen Titans used to come on. It wasn't Cartoon Network. It was, like, one of the hometown stations. They somehow got the rights to it and would play it.
46 Fox 46 or something.
And so, I fell in love with those characters. Yeah. And, like, that just, to me, that shows that some of these older cartoons did have some depth to them, because, like, they showed these, like, relationships between characters that extended, like, over different episodes, and you start to feel that. And, like, for instance, the new Teen Titans Go, like, I got mad when I watched it, because they just completely dumbed the characters down. And
new cartoons, new kids cartoons, I don't think are as good as, like, the 90s era.
Yeah.
Some new adult cartoons are actually really good, like Rick and Morty is incredible.
Oh my.
And Bob's Burgers.
Yeah, Bob's Burgers is good.
Yeah.
Bob's Burgers is good?
Dude, yeah.
Bob's Burgers is really good.
Dude, what?
It's amazing, man.
Yeah.
Write this down.
All right, so
is it on Netflix?
For the sake of time, let's move on to one from my list. And since you mentioned this a while ago, this was the first thing I put on my list when I sat down. And I would think that was SpongeBob, but the first thing I wrote down was Scooby-Doo.
Yeah.
I always used to ask Mackenzie, and I like to ask anybody this question: if you could when you have kids, if you could show them one thing, what would you show them? And my answer's always been Scooby-Doo, because that was my childhood. When I think back of like what I loved to watch, and it was Scooby-Doo. Me and my cousin would watch it like every day after school.
Yeah, I had a collection of VHSs. Daphne was my first girlfriend. I had a Scooby-Doo blanket. I had Scooby-Doo stuffed animals. Yeah. And I don't know how I looked over Scooby-Doo when I was writing this list, but I did only take about 5 minutes on this. But like, yeah, I'm fully in agreement. That defines my childhood more than SpongeBob does, because that was really my earlier years. Yeah. I really like my like younger years before I had consciousness, and like while I was gaining it, Scooby-Doo was right there with me.
Well, see, another reason that sticks so much with me, my grandma used to pick me up from school every day, me and my cousin. and she didn't. She had like 3 channels on her TV. She had like PBS, so we watched a lot of those cartoons. But we had like a ton of Scooby Doo VHS tapes. So like I couldn't watch SpongeBob or any like Nickelodeon or Disney at her house, so we would end up just watching Scooby Doo on VHS, like the movie, like the cartoon movies, the live action movies, just everything about Scooby Doo is just the whole premise behind the show too, man, is
it's awesome.
Yeah.
Problem solving. Like it actually teaches you things, and you've got comedy, you've got Velma who's like smarter. I mean, it's such a well-rounded show, and the character development is just so good.
Yeah,
it is. God, why didn't we think of that?
I don't know.
That was
It's
my
been
first
so
one,
long
man.
because I haven't
It
seen
has.
Scooby Doo in a long time. So.
I hadn't even seen anything about it. Like usually you get reminded of your favorite cartoon shows, like here and then again. Like
Me and Mackenzie watched the first Scooby Doo live action a couple weeks ago.
The movie?
I hated that movie.
Dude, I love those live action movies. Like, and not that they stand up to the test of time. And if I watched them as an adult, I wouldn't really love them. But I just remember when I was a kid.
Yeah.
Live action, like, I was like, what? That's crazy.
The first one I really like. The second one, not so much.
Which one's the first one? Which one's the second one?
It's where he's on Voodoo Island.
Yeah,
Is that the first
Voodoo
one?
First one.
Yeah, that's the one I like.
Yeah.
The other one's not as good, but I still like, because it just brings back the memory of like when I saw that was coming out in theaters, live action. It just blew my mind.
Yeah,
I was
same,
like, these
man.
are cartoon characters I've watched all my life, and
Yep.
now they're gonna be live action.
Mm-hmm.
My favorite were the movies like Space Invaders,
Cyber Attack.
Cyber
that
Attack.
was one of my favorites.
Another one was my favorite though by far is probably when they do the witch and the werewolves and
In the
they go to
desert,
Salem.
Australia.
No, they go to Salem.
Oh,
It's a really old one, but
Really?
it stands up to the test of time because the voices are so good.
Yeah.
But that was my favorite movie of all time, the Scooby Doo movie.
have y'all seen the Shaggy memes?
Yeah, dude,
They're so
Shaggy's
funny.
resurfacing online nowadays. I saw a video of the guy that played the live action Shaggy just the other day, like
Is he?
at some like convention signing autographs or something. And I was
Wow.
like, this is random. But
That's cool.
Yeah.
They deitize Shaggy, and it's just funny.
Yeah. Oh,
Like,
I've seen something like that.
Oh,
Man,
they
Yeah.
did
Yeah.
for like pod culture.
well, like one of them was Velma, and she says, "Yeah, they didn't." This was the live action Velma. They said, "Yeah, they didn't actually have anybody to cast for Velma when they started shooting, and they started freaking out." But then Shaggy went up to them and was like, "Don't worry." And he actually materialized me there right on the spot. And then right below it says, "I owe my very life to Lord Shaggy," or something like that. It's
Yeah.
funnier if you see it, but like type in Shaggy memes on your phone. They're pretty
dude,
funny.
and like going back now as an adult too, seeing all the references to Shaggy and Scooby being potheads.
Yeah,
It's
I
just
know.
funny to me, and like, because it totally makes sense.
The munchies all the time.
They're in their flower '70s van, and
Yep.
they're always eating something. It's
Yeah.
funny. All right, Sid, what's something else on your list?
All right. Jeez. Should I do the one that we're all gonna agree with yet?
Yes, go ahead and do
well,
it.
should we
Go
say
ahead and
that?
get it out the way.
I want to do another one. I don't know. Okay. Okay, The Office. Yeah, let's just get it out on the table. All right, The Office. Everybody's probably nodding their head, or maybe it's just my group of friends that happens to like the show, but everybody I know loves The Office.
There's nobody
Every
that doesn't
college
like The
kid has
Office.
watched The Office.
Yeah, I guess it's our
every
age.
I'm pretty
single
sure it's
one.
the most streamed show on Netflix. It has
Yeah.
the most hours watched and has the most like repeat watches of anything on Netflix.
Yeah. And I have myself repeated a lot of it because like you finish it and then you're like, well, I'm done with that, and then you just like you kind of get that urge to go back and
Me and Mackenzie
enjoy
did this
it.
just last week. We were looking for something to watch, that didn't like require a lot of paying attention. We just throw on a couple of, and like the fun thing is after you watch the entirety of it, you can just kind of go to a random season, go to a random episode.
Yeah.
That's the fun thing to me.
I just try to find Dwight, man. That I like.
Dude,
I want all the Dwight.
the fire safety video.
Yeah, that's one of the best ones.
And
The
then
safety
the
ones.
Beet Farm one, when they go to the Beet Farm and it's like an
Dude.
Airbnb for
Yeah.
Dwight's Beet Farms, and then his like Mo, or what is that his name? Mo?
I don't know. man.
Moses. He's like standing in the corn like with his pickaxe. He's like looking
yeah.
at people. He's like runs away. He's like those people of that.
Yeah.
Dude,
Never mind, I can't remember.
so one of the ones we watched the other day, the opening little sketch or the cold open was when Jim came in dressed as Dwight.
Oh,
yeah.
yes.
That's gotta be
good.
Bears.
my favorite joke that he plays on though is when the Asian guy.
Yes, when
acts
he
like
comes
that.
in. Yeah, that is. I was
That's
getting ready to
so
say
funny.
that because he's like, "What do you mean, Dwight? I've always been here." And he's got the Asian accent, and he's got a picture of Pam and the family, and then
Yeah.
he's just got it. It's fake, obviously. You could tell he just posted his face over.
Yeah.
Oh
Dude,
man.
and John Krasinski, like, he tried to mimic Martin Freeman from the British Office.
Oh.
Like, so if you watch the first episode, which is the exact same script as the British Office, like, he does Martin Freeman's version of that so well, but then he like becomes his own character over the progression of the series, and like what he turns Jim into is just brilliant.
Yeah.
Like his acting in that role is so good.
Yeah, and him and Dwight, I in some ways
that keeps the show alive. Honestly, it's
Yeah.
all because that's the only thing you go back for is like him and Dwight like getting into
Yeah.
it. Like
Well, I say Dwight, but there's really no Dwight without Jim.
Yeah.
So it's kind
Well,
of
and
Dwight and Jim.
The whole thing about that show too.
Dwim.
You have all this comedy and the things you keep coming back to, but like they pull in like relationships so good. Like you care about Jim and Pam, and you care about Michael's search for love
Yeah.
and whatever. Like,
Yeah.
but it's such an undertone that they put comedy over top of it. It's so well done.
And sometimes it feels like it's happening real time. Like sometimes I'll go through my days and be thinking about their relationship and like thinking about how they're doing.
Yeah.
But
Have
it's just
you
like
seen the memes of
No.
like, all right, so it keeps showing Jim, or not Jim, John Swazinski, or I can't pronounce his name, but and his wife together in photos, and then like a small clip of like Pam in the background holding a
I
knife
saw that.
and like
Yeah.
frowning.
Yeah.
And you're just like, what?
So there's a lot of memes on the internet too of like the worst moment in Office history when they bring in the boom operator and they try to have this little subplot where he's in love with Pam,
hmm
and that's just
I don't remember that.
So like in the last season, the guy they like break the fourth wall even more.
Oh
and they
yeah,
show the
yeah,
camera crew.
I remember.
And like the guy who operates the boom is like in love with Pam and like helps her out. And it's like
You didn't
It's-
like that?
no, it just like
Oh.
came out
Yeah,
of nowhere.
That took.
Oh, okay.
You could tell in the last couple seasons of that show they had some writing troubles because I mean,
Yeah. But they ended it so well. Like,
the
you can't
last
admit
season
that.
was so good. The 2 seasons before it were like they just had trouble in the writing room
Yeah,
after Steve Carell left.
Yeah. I mean, even though what's his name? Will Ferrell.
Yeah.
Even though he's like super funny in movies, I just don't think his character in that show was even like that funny.
I like that he made a cameo though, because that to me
that was funny though.
it makes The Office even more endearing to me because I love Will Ferrell.
He couldn't have done a long stint on there. Like Will Ferrell's comedy only works in movies because it's so out there. You can't
Yeah.
have like a lot of it.
Yeah.
So yeah, I like that he made a cameo.
Yeah.
And also, another thing I didn't like about The Office is what they did with Andy's character, which
Yeah.
Poor
he
Andy.
just kind of was on a roller coaster. Like they couldn't
Yeah.
figure out exactly what they wanted his character to be.
Yeah, because at first you hated Andy, then you started liking Andy, and all of a sudden you like, what is this Andy? What this ain't Andy.
Yeah.
This is somebody else.
And then one other thing, who's that one intern guy? Was his name Gabe?
oh my, don't you get me started.
Yeah,
on
he
Gabe.
was annoying.
No. He is one of my favorite actors on comedies of all time.
Really?
Dude. So I watched the show called Silicon Valley on HBO,
I've never seen that.
and I didn't like him that much on The Office, but after I saw Silicon Valley, I started to appreciate him so much more because of just his one-liners in Silicon Valley are just like some of the funniest things in that show.
Really?
So then I started to appreciate his character a lot more in The Office.
I think he was supposed to not be like, or supposed to be unlikable though.
Yeah.
Just because he kind of was like going against.
Yeah.
He was a jerk to that the other like
He was-
receptionist.
Yeah.
He was an
Aaron.
antagonist. That's what he was.
Yeah. Because they made him not likable if I remember right.
Yeah.
I mean, that throat thing, man. Oh.
I don't remember that.
Why are you making fun of his appearance now, man?
No, I'm not. I'm just saying that Adam's apple is really
Oh.
pokey, man.
I didn't even notice, dude. Or I don't remember one of the two.
They made a joke about it in the show, like something about how he was like, I don't know. I don't.
But yeah, I don't know what other stuff that actor's on, but his delivery, and like Silicon Valley was made years after The Office, so like he had a lot of time to kind of figure out his craft, and like now his delivery on, because he's still in the Silicon Valley plays this really nerdy weird dude, and his delivery on some of those lines is just brilliant.
Okay, so I said Dwight was my favorite. I want to tell you my second favorite thing in The Office. So my first favorite thing is Jim and Dwight. My second favorite thing is Michael and what's the other guy? The guy that he always
Toby?
hates on, Toby. Every time Michael hates on Toby,
He's like a completely different
my
person.
soul fills up with just like I feel
What?
complete. Like it just it's so satisfying to me because it's so funny.
Well, it
like,
comes out of nowhere.
Yeah.
Like there's not any real backstory there. Like there's a little bit of like why he hates Toby, but like it's
Well, I think it's because Toby is the only one that has the power to like totally like wreck, you know, Steve Carell. I can't. Michael Scott. Yeah.
the heck, man.
He has. I don't know. I was going through a brain fart, but he has the only power to mess up Michael Scott. And every time Michael Scott tries to do something fun in the office, it's like Toby ruins it. So I think that's
yeah,
why
I mean,
he
that's
hates it.
definitely why there's the rivalry. But it's just funny because like the way he goes about it is unfounded. Like he's so mean and like
Steve Carell did such a good job playing that because it's just so like real and. You feel bad for Toby, but at the same time, it's like it's just so unrational and ridiculous.
Well, what's crazy about The Office too is that's what made Steve Carell.
Yeah,
because like
for sure.
At that point in his career, he wasn't really known like at all. He did 40-Year-Old Virgin, he did that, and then he blew up after that. And now he's doing some incredible things. His dramatic acting is so good.
Yeah,
like I'm just happy that The Office gave him the career that it's given him.
Yeah.
What is it, Marvinville, who was recently in?
Yeah, something like that, where he plays like that guy who he like plays with dolls and stuff.
Yeah.
To deal with like traumatic stress disorder.
That's recent.
Yeah, and then the one before that is when he goes with Morgan Freeman, him, it might be another guy, but they go on a trip to like find their son or something like that. I don't know. I'm trying to remember the movies he's in recently.
I don't know, man, but
the one I did see
good.
though, there's one like the Save the World or End the World one.
Oh yeah,
he has a briefcase in the art that they use.
It's like the world's ending, and he finds this girl.
Keira Knightley is
that was a good movie.
It's an indie movie too, so it was low budget. All right, we could talk about The Office for hours, so let's move on to what's next on your list, Hunter.
Well, Star Wars and the Clone Wars. Because you made me think when you said the highest watch count on like The Office, I thought, well, what's the second? And then my eyes lit up, and I was like, it's Star Wars: The Clone Wars.
Yeah,
'cause that's the only other thing I feel like you can watch endlessly.
Oh no, it's definitely not the second.
What is it?
Well, it might be the second for you, but like for all of Netflix audience.
Oh yeah, I got you. But
that's what I was saying
for
with
me
The
it would be
Office.
second.
No, but yeah, the Clone Wars. Oh my gosh, dude, that show redefined Star Wars for me.
Oh man,
because the Clone Wars era is my favorite.
Yeah,
because I like the big wars and the big, but the movies didn't do it for me.
It is called Star Wars. I mean, I like to have wars going on, you know, and having, you know, or big, like you have big battles in the Star Wars movies, but these were like intergalactic battles that ranged over, like there was a battle going here and there, and it was just constantly jumping between different storylines and like.
Well, yeah, I mean there was generals and commanders and like it felt like war and it was awesome.
Yeah, and it made you like the clone troopers, even though like they're clones. In the movies, it didn't really like. In the movies, they portrayed the clone troopers as just like mindless robots,
which for what the movies were doing with those characters, I think that's the correct way to go. And like if they never had Clone Wars the cartoon, I think that'd be fine because like you can't in the span of what happens in episode 2 to like
that's true
to Order 66. If you fall in love with any of those characters, it's kind of weird.
Yeah,
but the Clone Wars actually made that better because you did fall in love with them, and then you see Commander Cody. In it's
Rex and Cody,
and then in what's the new one?
Star Wars Rebels.
Yeah, he comes back.
I haven't seen it as much. I need to see it.
I need to watch all that too. But dude, I'm surprised I didn't think about Clone Wars to be on my list. But
I'm just so glad they went all the way like into lore as deep as they could.
Yeah.
Even showing like Anakin, like he truly is the chosen one.
Dude, one of my favorite parts, it was very subtle, was when they showed Tarkin.
Oh yeah.
When Tarkin's a young commander and you see how he's already like going about this power struggle because like that's his whole point. Like the whole character of Tarkin is built on the fact that he is trying to climb his way to the top, and you can see that back in the Clone Wars even starting then.
Yeah,
and like they go into detail there, man. And like when Chewbacca shows up and you get a little backstory there,
they went. Oh man, it was perfect.
It was great.
I just loved it. Like the last 8 episodes were the most like gratifying.
Well, yeah, I mean, because you had something to build up to, because you already had the movie that was before it, the movie that was after it, so you knew what the ultimatum was.
Yeah.
So like, it did very well to get you that point.
And when he went to that planet and he like was delving in the light and the dark,
Yeah.
and then he saw the future.
Yeah.
Oh, dude, and you can hear like the.
Yeah.
And it was just like, oh no, I just
Man, if they would,
got me hyped.
I wish they would not reboot the Clone Wars, but make another series with that same art style, the same writers, and then just redo what the magic they did there, because that was such a good show.
It was. And I don't know what else to say about it.
Just go watch it.
Yeah.
Right now.
Please.
Front to back. It might take you 48 hours or however long it takes.
It took me like freshman year and sophomore year of college.
Yeah, it was. All right. Anyways, let's move on to something else on my list. I guess I'll keep the cartoon, like all mine are cartoons except like The Office and one other one. But I'll keep on the cartoon train for just a second. So this next one is the first show that I ever binge watched. Like the first thing that, like right when we got Netflix, like because we had the Netflix thing where they delivered DVDs to your house. Right when we transitioned into like being able to stream, the first thing I watched was Avatar: The Last Airbender.
Nice. Yeah. I agree with that.
And
that's the only Nickelodeon show I ever liked, ever.
And, okay, so we've been talking about all these cartoons, but Avatar is what drew me into, like, I'm not calling, like, let me say this, I'm not calling Avatar anime, because it's not anime.
I know, but
it's American anime, but it's not Japanese anime. That's what drew me into, like, more, I mean, even though I watched that when I was kind of young, I was, like, maybe early high school, late middle school.
It's because, I bet you it's because that's the only cartoon that was, like, it had a growing story on Nickelodeon.
I mean, the story was a lot like a Japanese anime.
Yeah.
So that's what drew me into, like, now, I watch a lot of anime now. I love, like, animated shows. And
same.
I really trace that back to Avatar being such a good show. I mean, the climax that, like, they built up to it. Like, the whole thing was a build-up of 3 chapters, and they executed it so well.
Didn't they come out with a 4th book?
Yeah, I think so.
Well, how many books were those? Water, Fire, Earth, and Air, right?
Well, there was,
I think
there was only
last
3 books, because he already knew air, so, like, it went through his training of all the other elements.
And the new book, though, was called Kira, right? Or something. I don't know.
Are you talking about the new series with his daughter?
Yeah.
I don't think it was Kira. It was like Katara.
Katara?
Yeah.
Did he name his daughter after Katara?
Yeah. No, it can't be. It's Kira, because Katara is the...
It's something with a K. It's not Kira.
Kira.
I'll look it up.
You're right.
Y'all talk about it some more.
But
it was in a time for me when, like, I feel like the show was too deep for me for the age I was, so I didn't really latch onto it like I would a show now. But I always remember being excited for the next episode, because it was always felt like it was leading to something else.
Well, it was serialized, whereas most cartoons we watch, you can jump in at any point in the season, and you know they're not serialized, meaning like there's not a through line story throughout the whole thing. It was Legend of Korra. Was the thing, and I watched a couple episodes of that, but it just didn't recapture the magic of it, because the whole story, the whole setup for the story behind Avatar of him having to save the world, like the only Avatar left, the only Airbender, and like the whole setup, the whole payoff, it was just all brilliant.
Yeah.
And each chapter had this little capstone ending of like he learned water first, and then he learned earth, which Earth was my favorite chapter, and then just ending it off with fire. It was
I need to watch it again. I actually started watching it.
It's not on Netflix anymore.
I know. That's what I had to watch it on.
It's on Amazon.
It is?
I think you had to purchase. Okay, so like, a couple months ago, I wanted to rewatch it. Went on Netflix, it's not there. Went on Amazon, and the day I went on Amazon, it was a part of like Amazon Prime, if you have that. And then literally the next day, they had taken it down, and you had to pay per episode.
I hate when they do that crap.
I've been considering buying it though, because like stuff like that, I wouldn't mind owning the DVD copies.
They probably did that because right when they put it on Prime, they wanted to see how many people would pick it up.
And they're like, oh crap!
Like everyone on Prime
wants this. Yeah. Because I mean, that cartoon was stand the test of time. You could show that to somebody in 100 years from now.
You're right.
Because it boils down to great storytelling. It doesn't matter how it was animated. Nothing. voice acting, which were good, but like it was just perfect storytelling.
Every time I get in the water, I'm always waterbending. Like it's just a natural thing I start doing. I'm playing with the waves.
I remember wanting to be some type of bender.
I was legitimately a waterbender. Like I didn't want to be. I was thinking about air and like being able to fly, but then I was like, you can't really see air. And Earth was pretty cool, but it was like more like, I don't know. It was, I don't know, I can't explain it, but fire, it was the most enticing to me. I wanted to be fire, and like I tend to gravitate towards fire, like in powers and superheroes. But honestly, like the water one was the coolest one because I don't know, I just like the fact that you can turn it into ice and you can you could heal people.
I think water was the most flexible, and I think it was the coolest. I think I really related to and wanted to be an earthbender because that was my favorite chapter because. Like making a blonde girl, teaching him earth, like
that was crazy.
I remember it was that. Just using brilliant the vibrations character of the development. Earth. Like how cool is that? Like you go into season 2 and you're thinking he's gonna find some big buff earthbender dude, and then it's this little blonde girl.
Yeah.
Like how great is that?
I remember being in the shower as a little kid and like getting perfectly so the water would flow down my arm and I'd have this stream and I'd like actually like. In my little mind, think like if I could focus hard enough, maybe I could like do this outside of the shower.
I had the same thought. I would always think to myself like, if I jumped hard enough, I could fly.
Yeah. And there was a show.
In my dreams, I would fly.
Called Static Shock 2. I don't know if you guys. And I used to like actually think like if I tried hard enough, I could learn to like make electricity happen.
Static Shock was that's another. There's so many good ones. You just can't talk about them all.
Yeah, I just remember that as like being so exciting. I think it was like on Warner Brothers.
Yeah,
some kind of
Warner Brothers.
Yeah, but that was just an exciting.
They actually came out. CW came out with like an adult version of Static Shock. Like if he grew up.
I saw that.
And like
yeah.
But it's not called the same superhero. But I'm calling him Static Shock because he basically is.
But Static Shock, would that be like fire in the bending of things, or is that like air?
Isn't there? No, wait. There is like thunder in like Avatar, right?
That might be. It would be air because
with Legend of Korra they introduced like new. They had like metal bending in Legend.
Yeah,
Legend
metal bending and like thunder.
And, like
you combined like air and fire.
But the cool thing too about that is like they designed the movements of waterbending and airbending and everything off of like martial art styles and like blade styles, which. That's the one of the coolest things to me about like Asian history of like how their different sword styles and stances and is really cool.
My Wu-Tang style.
I think it's really interesting, by the way, that like most of our stuff is cartoons.
Yeah, that's true.
And it makes sense because when I was listening to Rhett and Link's, which this is where we got the episode idea was Rhett and Link's podcast, where they talked about their top 10 favorite shows. They all had like sitcoms because when they're growing up through the 80s and 90s, there wasn't as many big cartoons. It was more like sitcoms and stuff like that. Like they were like Fresh Prince of Bel-Air and stuff like that.
70s show maybe.
No, because
Happy Days.
That wasn't on their thing.
Yeah, Happy Days.
What else was on there? But yeah, anyways, like cartoons didn't get big until the 90s and early 2000s.
Yeah, they exploded in the 90s.
Yeah,
that's where I remember watching the most cartoons is when I was. 95,
early 2000s.
2005. Yeah.
All right, so that was mine. So Sid, what's another one on your list?
So this is one that you guys actually introduced me to, and that's Sword Art Online.
Yeah.
Dang it! Why do I keep forgetting good ones?
So this is an anime, and it's honestly just amazing. And I what is it when you like I endorse it completely.
Yeah.
Like go watch it and you will not be disappointed. If you're not into anime and you think anime is weird,
that's
how I used to be.
Yeah.
Go watch it and you'll literally fall in love with anime and realize why so many people like it because it's just beautiful.
Let's just explain it to what everyone is. Can we just talk about it? I think we need to delve into
it's like
don't spoil anything. But
it's like a sci-fi, like historic, like
RPG.
RPG.
So those of you that like RPGs,
cartoon.
This is an RPG cartoon. You literally, all right. The main character, the first episode. Can I just spoil the first episode?
No, man. That first episode is what hooked me.
Yeah,
because I didn't know anything going into it.
Yeah,
and I was just like, whoa, this is an incredible idea.
You're right.
But like, I'll say, this was the first anime. I'd watched a couple episodes here and there. This is the first anime that hooked me and like got me hooked on anime. Because like after this, I watched Attack on Titan, Death Note, all these big animes, and I was just blown away by all of them. I think anime is just.
I've been
incredible.
stuck on anime since Naruto. That's what got. Well, it went from Dragon Ball Z to like dragon, walk the dragon, like growing up with that in my head. And then Naruto came on afterwards, and I got hooked. And that was anime. Dragon Ball Z is more like Americanized Japanese anime, even though it came from Japanese. But Naruto was like way more into like Japanese culture and like the samurai and the ninjas, and that is what hooked me on anime. Because then I started watching Bleach, One Piece, Yu Hakusho,
you see Rurouni Kenshin?
Rurouni Kenshin.
Dude.
Those are all great swordsmen and all like great fighters. Like all those shows I just described.
Cowboy Bebop.
Yeah. And then Afro Samurai, like all those shows all correlated with like martial arts, Japanese culture, the samurai, the way of the samurai, and the way of the ninja. And it was just so cool because like that actually connects a lot. Like even the Batman anime series, he's like a samurai and then he's also a ninja. So like that, like it's cool because even Star Wars: The Clone Wars, they have Bushido is the way of the sword with them, and I was just like, what is that? Like, think about that. Like that connects a lot of the cartoons and the animes we watch.
Yeah. Well, I mean that's Star Wars was, I mean the Jedi were based on the samurai.
Yeah.
And so that's cool that, I mean, George Lucas drew so much from Japanese culture.
But what does that say about us?
I think a lot of things in our animation and our like movie culture is drawn from Japanese culture. You look at like all of our monster movies, Godzilla. I mean,
King Kong. Yeah,
comes from like
our
comes
cars.
from Japanese. Yeah, it comes
our
from
cars
Japanese culture.
Yeah.
So
Fast and Furious. It's all Japanese cars. Well, most of it is.
Yeah.
Well, they took our American cars, re-engineered them, and now we've adopted their re-engineering ways, and that's
no. The thing about that is they didn't change anything about our muscle cars. They just revamped them. Like they didn't revamp. They brought them back because in the 80s and 70s and 80s the muscle cars were like everywhere, and they just brought that culture and put it into like now. And it looked like what you just said because it's unfamiliar to us, but to like our dads. That's what hooked my dad to Fast and Furious, is because of the muscle cars. But what hooked me was the Japanese cars.
I'm not talking about performance vehicles. I'm just talking kind of like just regular. But I agree with what you're saying.
Okay.
But then again, like they kind of brought in more of the technology, whereas before it was like
you're right on that. They did
and power
throw in like 1,000 horsepower on.
You see
a crap ton of horsepower.
You see Nintendo and PS4, like Japanese culture really shapes American culture if you really look at it.
It does.
Yeah, that's true.
And think about it. We were at war with them. 80 years ago? We were on the brink of like just
something like that.
Like it's just we've come so far.
Yeah.
From that, like it's incredible.
Yep. Well, okay, yeah, definitely Sword Art Online. If you have not watched it,
it's a gateway drug
definitely
for
watch
anime.
It. Okay, so the season 2. Here's my experience with anime that I'll say up front. The first season's always the best of like any anime.
Mm-hmm.
Season 2 of Sword Art wasn't incredible. I still watched it. It was okay. Season 2.
It was better than okay. It was very enjoyable.
No, I loved it. I loved it. Don't get me wrong. Don't get me wrong. But then they start going into these other storylines. It's just like away from the true point. And then like Attack on Titan season 2, it was just like more of the same. Death Note after the first season was just kind of like same old same. It's like because like these Japanese, the ideas they have are just so cool. So like the novelty of the idea is kind of what draws you in. So after season 1, it's kind of like okay.
Yeah, and there's only 2 seasons too, so I mean you can still finish.
There's a movie too.
Oh, there's a movie?
Yeah.
I haven't seen the movie.
Which like I say, don't get me wrong, I like the second season. Like I actually like where they go with some of the storylines, but it's not the magic of season 1.
Yeah. It just gets really dark, and I think season 2 is way more sexualized. I think because there's
towards the end kind of.
Yeah.
There's a anime that I'm a huge fan of called "Is It Wrong to Pick Up Girls in a Dungeon?" That's super sexualized, but if you look past it, it's literally just as good as Sword Art Online to me.
That's the only thing anime does. That's why it doesn't do well in like with kids our age or younger age kids.
That's why when people ask me, that's why I recommend Attack on Titan and Death Note. They're really gritty and dark, but they're not sexualized like at all. Which I mean,
that's good.
Yeah.
Because that's why I feel awkward watching sometimes like animes. Like they like when
it
the
almost
girls
looks like porn sometimes.
Yeah,
like if you can look past that and just realize like how this is being created by a different culture.
Yeah.
Then
that's true.
Because
their whole culture is way different than ours. But I gotta tell you, like when I'm in my room and like when a female like screams, I'm just like I get really cringy. I'm like,
Yeah.
oh god, I'm not doing what you think.
Sometimes
I'm doing.
you have to watch anime with headphones on.
Yeah, you do. So just so you know.
Yeah.
All right, let's move on.
Yeah, everybody's had that happen.
Oh,
Definitely,
dude.
definitely.
I used to have to wear headphones because I'm like, I don't even want the idea of this to be put into my family's mind. Like,
Yeah.
you know what I mean?
Well, dude, I found that funny because like
Nobody ever talks
when like
about
the
it.
theme song comes on, it's this Japanese singing,
Yeah.
and like my parents probably like, what the heck is he watching
Yeah.
up there?
Oh, Clayton's
I
watching
would
that.
always love the theme songs though, because I would just like sing along in Japanese. I didn't know what I was saying.
Yeah.
I'd just like yell it.
Oh, what's the? Oh, I can't think of it. What's the Sword Art Online like one?
It's been too long.
Yeah, it's been too long.
And they change it up too. That's what I
Yeah.
like that about Japanese anime. Like randomly they'll change the theme songs. Like what?
Mhm.
Yeah,
It's just they don't care.
they do that a lot
Yeah.
for Naruto. They have like every 10 episodes is a different theme.
All right, let's get another one from your list, Hunter.
All right. I'm gonna change it up with it's not really animated. It's I don't know what would you call it, but South Park.
It's definitely animated.
Okay, yeah, you're right.
It's very different than what we've been talking about.
It's like
though.
this is like the adult, or this is the adult side of me that like really grew my humor.
Yeah.
Like all the other cartoons I've watched was like it was inspiring. It was like motivational. The morals were great. South Park, it just made me appreciate comedy to the maximum level that you can appreciate it because they're so genius. Like the Parker Brothers, right? Is that what they're called?
I don't know.
Well, I think that's what they're called. But those guys are genius. They started from literally just taking paper crafted cutouts of like.
I do like the animation
characters.
style. It's
Yeah.
like a kind of paper craft.
And then
stop
it
motion
evolved
type
into
style.
like something way better. But like, I just love that they're so witty and they're up to speed with the times.
Yeah,
Like,
they're on top of culture, which is
Yeah.
the coolest thing.
and if you want to like, if you're the kind of person that like sticks with culture and sticks with the know-how and like you're up to speed of what's going on in the world,
Yeah.
like watching South Park along with it, just it makes it so much more funnier when you know what's happening and then South Park makes fun of it
Yeah.
and you go like I used to code like in high school and like I remember every day I would be so excited to get to math class.
Yeah.
Me, you, and Alec, and Chip. We just talk about things, and like I always love talking about South Park with Alec because I could just say, and then he would start busting out laughing, and we would just talk about all the episodes. And
Yeah.
I just love that show.
I think the older I get, the more I appreciate that type of comedy where it's like they have to write these shows on a weekly basis. So like Saturday Night Live, they're so topical because they're literally in a writer's room. They'll write their shows week to week. Unlike some series that are, they sit there for a month and write a whole script for the whole season, and then they just, it's a lot different. And I think comedy works a lot better for me now when it's more topical.
Yeah.
Because I'm a lot more up with like the news and what's going on in the world. So like making fun of that kind of stuff like just kind of makes sense.
Mm.
Yeah.
I never really watched I definitely watched South Park, and I've watched a lot of South Park, I guess, but I never really.
Well, you
kept
were
up
more
with
into
it.
like Family Guy, right?
Yeah, that's what I was gonna say. Like when it comes to those kind of more like crude humor cartoons, I'd say Family Guy is more of a favorite to me. But it's more generalized humor. It's not as topical, and
That's true.
I don't know.
It was like I feel like Family Guy was the grown-up version of SpongeBob, honestly.
Yeah. Well, it's like I say, with Family Guy, you could just turn on an episode and enjoy it. With South Park, sometimes it's so topical that like it's not that funny because that
Yeah.
stuff's not going on. Like, if you go back and watch season 1 of South Park, it's not that great
Yeah.
because it's just kind of weird.
Like when they're making fun of Jennifer Lopez and it's like
Yeah.
moving hand, you're like, this is not that funny anymore. But you're right, yeah, it's definitely topical. Definitely.
which is not a bad thing. It's just it's because I didn't really watch South Park when it was coming on TV. I would always go back and have to rewatch episodes. So to me, Family Guy was better in that sense.
Yeah.
All right. So how many do you have left?
I mean,
Just
I have a lot left.
I have
I've
more I
talked
wanna
about
talk
so many of mine though,
Yeah.
just by talking. So
Yeah.
like,
Do you want to go in with me
on what?
on Supernatural?
Yeah, sure. Well, it's Clayton's turn. So
well, so this is my last one. I only had 5 because I stuck to the criteria here, and we've talked about all mine except for my last one, which is Game of Thrones. which we need to be careful and not spoil anything.
I haven't
Sid
seen
hasn't
a
seen
single.
it.
Haven't seen a single
I
episode.
couldn't talk. I just couldn't. I can't even get into this because I feel like I would spoil everything.
Well, then just don't talk. Just shut your mouth.
Game of Thrones. Yep. Boom.
I've always
Number
been
one.
a huge fantasy fan. Lord of the Rings and
Me too, which doesn't make sense why I didn't watch it.
and like so and fantasy books and all that kind of stuff. All right, I don't need the background.
I'm sorry.
So like when I found a show that was just like it was on the level of Lord of the Rings and like production quality and fantasy, it just blew me away. And I will admit, in the first couple seasons, you've got to get past like basically porn when
Yeah.
there's a lot of that, but like that's not really part of the story. Apparently, HBO just kind of did that in order to draw viewers because like there's not that much sex in the books, but there's like a ton in the show. And so I don't know, just the whole world building too, man. Like George R.R. Martin is almost Tolkien when it comes to this world. Like he has built out this world. Like what we see in the show is only scraping the surface of what the actual world is in the books. And it just drew me in to like there was just so much to learn and so much to watch and so much. I mean, I would binge that show.
When I bought the first season, I had no idea what I was going to be getting into. But I bought the DVD set, and I actually took the time to like watch the commentary, or not the commentary, but I don't know what it was. They had like, they had episodes within like, on a subsection of the what do you call it? The backstory. They had a backstory, and they had 10 episodes for just the backstory.
Oh yeah.
And it was explaining like the history before what you're about to watch, the maps, the what's in the actual Game of Thrones show, like who is in it and like who's the houses, and I was just like, holy crap, this is
George Martin just released a book this past October that's like 250 years before Game of Thrones, and it just describes like the wars between like when they actually had all the dragons and
when the Mad King was there.
Yeah, it was like it was before that. It was like back when the Targaryens
the three sisters or the three dragons.
It's when the Targaryens were first conquering Westeros. Basically.
So the three I can't remember.
Yeah, it's hard to talk about Game of Thrones without spoiling anything. But if you're really into fantasy, even if you're not in fantasy, there's stuff in there for everybody. I'm making Mackenzie watch it with me right now because the new season.
I'm gonna get Lauren on that.
The new season starts in April, and I'm trying to get Mackenzie caught up to it before the new season.
Oh man, I'm
so excited for it.
I can't wait. I hope they have at least like 15 episodes.
There's only gonna be like 7. That's what they said.
Why?
But anyways,
they can make so much more money.
Yeah, they could. But apparently, Weiss and Benioff, the creators, are kind of like they've had their time with it. They're kind of ready to move on.
Yeah, it's been since 2012, right?
I think so. Yeah. But yeah, so Game of Thrones for me, it's so cool because it's so high produced. Like it's the first HBO show I watched, so I didn't really understand like. They have like movie budgets for HBO shows because it's all paid subscription type stuff. So like then I started getting into more HBO shows like Silicon Valley, and I started watching Westworld, but I hadn't really gone into it that much.
Man.
But
don't get me started on that. That's
when you apply a movie budget to a TV show, like it's crazy what you can do.
How did I forget those? Those are Game of Thrones and Westworld are the biggest shows. I like those. Like when it comes to cartoons, I've said my piece on my cartoons. But when it comes to like the best TV shows of all time on my list, those are the top 2.
What about Breaking Bad?
Still not as good as Westworld.
Okay, we can have that discussion later.
Have you seen Westworld?
I don't care. Dude,
I'm just saying, man, if you're a big fan of like sci-fi and like westerns, like if you're a big fan of westerns and then you also love sci-fi and you combine those two together,
yeah, I know what you're saying, but
amazing.
Breaking Bad was almost perfection in writing and acting.
Well,
and
yes,
plot
I would say
everything.
number 3 for me.
All right, let's move on. I'm done with my list, so now we just got however many y'all got.
I mean, I can be done.
Well, let's get into this.
Let's go through these kind of quickly. We're almost out of time.
Yeah.
Here,
well, let's just talk about Supernatural then, and then we. Okay. Are you good? I'm good.
Let's go with it.
Cool. So we just one more honorable mention, which is it has the extra honor of getting a lot.
Because it was on my list.
Yeah. Okay. Cool. So then
I've never seen it, so
it's not an honorable mention. This is Hunter's and mine. Supernatural. It's awesome. However, I tapered off a little bit, whereas Hunter, he seems to be like a true hardcore fan. I watched it up till about season 6.
Well, most of my friends in college got me introduced to Supernatural, and they also tapered off at season 6 because when it comes to like that show, it was supposed to end in season 6 was supposed to be the last season, but there was so many fans demanding more of Supernatural.
Yeah.
On the level of like SpongeBob and what you saw with like Star Wars, like it's that on that level.
Yeah, it has a cult following for sure.
Yeah, huge cult following, and it even like goes into like the show, like the cult following like follows in the show. But anyways, they were supposed to end it, and yeah, the fans did an outrage, and so they're like, crap, well, what are we gonna do? Oh, I guess we'll just start writing new things. And so they introduced way new like big things, and then it got to the point where it was just another season after another season. I think people tapered off is because like the next seasons that came out, the next 6 seasons were not as good because 1 through 6 was build up, but after the build up, it was just like, all right, what do we gotta do next? Let's just come up with this, and then they come up with that, or they
That's
come
what
up
it
with
felt
this.
like too. It felt like afterthoughts. It felt like they were trying like to be too clever with like making these tie-ins and stuff.
Yeah,
And there was something about like the first season where it almost felt like Scooby-Doo with how each episode they go
The
find the
Monster
monster,
Week.
they solve it, and then they call it that's the episode. And like then they had that overlying story arc with like his father and
yeah, it was like a Scooby-Doo
Yeah.
for grown-ups.
yeah, but then it started like getting so involved, and it's like you had to watch every episode, and you missed an episode, and it's like, well, who the heck is this guy?
Yeah.
And they're acting like they know him, like their best friend, and he wasn't even in the last
Oh,
episode.
you're talking about Castiel?
Yeah, and then there's like other angels too, and like the whole angel thing just
Okay.
confused me. But
Well, I think it's. Is it before season 6 or after season 6 that the angels come in?
it's somewhere around there. Honestly, I just said season 6 is like a place marker. I feel like season 6 might have been it, but it's been so long I can't remember.
The thing about Castiel is he helps. Like he's part of the 3 now. Like I used to just love the 2 brothers, and Castiel was like, all right, but now he's like the comic relief to like their problems that they always have.
Yeah.
So.
Oh, that's the other thing about the new episodes is like what you're saying. Everything just seemed like so negative and emotional.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I miss the old times where they still had that brotherly like spark.
I know exactly what you mean.
You know what I
Trust
mean?
me. I've watched multiple.
It just seems like they got beaten down by life, and they're all serious now. And now this is just their job, and they're just like
it's like melodramatic.
drained. Yeah.
And it's more soap opera now.
Yeah,
than it is.
exactly. That's a
But
good way
it's
to put it.
still like if you just watch this show for the first 6 seasons, you'll find yourself coming back from work or coming back from college or a class. I mean, and you'll just be like, I want to see Sam and Dean. I want to hang out with the bros. And you watch it, and like, if you're like a guy that like really likes like the manly stuff, and like the leather jackets or the muscle cars, or you'll love this show because there's one character named Dean who's all into that stuff. He's like the guy that like you like the bully. Well, what do you think? Help me out here.
No, he's the tough one, and then Sam's kind of more
Like
the emotional one. But then you find the emotional side of Dean, and then Sam kind of like hard. It's like
a back and forth.
you really feel like you get to know these people, and like that's why I really like this show is because not only was it like just simple and fun to watch, and like them catch monsters and like stuff, but you really came to feel like you knew the characters, which is what any good show you want from.
You can almost like know what they're gonna like do next.
Yeah.
It was a good show.
Yeah, for sure. That's all I have to say on that.
All right, real quick, I'm gonna go in rapid succession through 5 more. Just like I'm a big TV kind of guy.
Yeah.
Maybe not as big as movies, but like I have so many TV shows that I'm in love with. So I'm gonna just list 5 more right here that could probably spark another 2 hours of conversation. Lost.
Oh.
all right.
Let me talk.
No.
Okay.
Parks and Recreation.
Yes, so that got me started on The Office.
Arguably better than The Office.
I disagree.
Alright, I watched that first and I loved it so much, and I was like, "Where's another show? Please give me another show."
Wait,
like
you
this.
watched Park and Rec first?
Yes, I didn't know The Office was existed.
I think here's what I'll say
existence.
about the Parks and Rec being better than The Office.
It's not.
No.
That's Clayton just
It's
said
a
that.
different
guys.
a lot.
Office.
There's so many people online who think Parks and Rec is better because the character development is better, and they didn't have to play with this idea of what they were doing with the whole documentary style. It was already rooted, and they explored it differently. I think it's got a better story.
I know what you mean. I definitely agree.
All right, Star Trek. I don't know if you guys seen any Star Trek.
Not really.
A little bit of the Packard, Captain Picard. Picard.
I'm a big fan of the original series.
Captain
The original
Picard.
Spock is one of my favorite characters in all of TV.
I've seen all the original movies. Those are really good.
That's questionable. The very first Star Trek movie's not very good.
Terrible.
All right, Big Bang Theory.
Yeah.
I fell in love with the characters. They're awesome. And then House of Cards is the most beautiful shot television show I've ever seen in my entire life. And Kevin Spacey's incredible.
I'm not disagreeing.